駆け抜け青春スパーキング
Senpai isn't here today, huh? It was past noon, but I hadn't seen Senpai yet. She was usually here around this time too.
当の先輩はカイドウ先輩のことが気になるんすか？
Yeah, I mean, no. It's not like that. Senpai is nearly perfect attendance, you know? Even Kashima and Shinji were occasionally absent due to their volunteer collective activities. Are you sure it's due to the volunteer collective activities? You see, with Kashima, I can see. But with Shinji, I mean, like, we saw in Riri's route that one of the reasons why he didn't show up to volunteer at the festival, you know, at the time that he, you know, at the most important time of when you should volunteer at the festival is because he was helping out his dad at the shop because of the festival. So, you know, he was volunteering in his own way. Meanwhile, Hiragi and Ritsu were busy with their own engagements. However, Senpai had been showing up every day.
ま、それでもいいけど。
What do you mean it doesn't matter?
別に。で、何だけど今日は休みよ。
Really? Had she caught a cold or something? I was concerned after we were hanging out at the beach the other day.
ちなみに、風邪とかじゃないからね。
She doesn't? Wait, don't read my mind.
あんたがわかりやすいだけよ。なんでも、最近たるんでるからって稽古に打ち込むことにしたんだってさ。
She is trying to channel her energy into her training so that she can try to stop thinking about you while she's training. That didn't make sense. Whatever. No, never mind. Wow. Was that why she hadn't come today? How about that? Oh? Why was I so disappointed? It just so happens we're not going to see her today, right? And yet, I had this empty feeling like a gaping hole had opened up inside. I wonder what happened to her to focus on her Aikido all of a sudden. You? But I don't think you would like that answer.
合気道の練習に身が入ってなかった。他のことに気を取られて、鍛錬がおろそかになってるって言ってたわよ。青春部で流しそうめんしたり、海で遊んだりしましたしね。毎日のようにゲームもしてます。誰かとお弁当を食べたりもしてたっすね。
I don't think eating lunch together has much to do with it. Although it did ring a bell for me too. She left the dojo to go surfing when I came by the other day. It was entirely possible I had caused trouble for her.
何言ってば、変なところで真面目だからね。
でも、それがカイドウ先輩のいいところですよね。
でも、せっかくの貴重な夏休みなのよ。青春のために少しくらい羽目を外したっていいのに。小日向さんのように外しすぎるのは問題では。あら、言うじゃない鹿島さん。そっちだって夏だからって羽目を外してるように見えるけど。少々なら生活を送る上でのスパイスですから。先日のサーフィンのように普段できないことに挑戦する機会はあまりないですし。そうなのよ。
Hibiki clenched a fist and stood up with enthusiasm.
練習だって大切だと思うわ。でもみんなで過ごす夏休みは今しかないの。私と優と、そして青春部のみんなと、一度しかない大切な夏休みを送ってほしいと思ってるの。
カイドウ先輩、来年はもう卒業してるもんな。
留年しない限りはっすけどね。
Graduation, huh? Ritsu, Hiragi, and Hijiri were all first years. Shinji, Hibiki, and Kashima were second years. Nakado was a third year. After another few months, and it would be difficult for us to be with Senpai. Well, that would be a shame for you, but I'm sure it'll be fine. You know, you live close enough together that it shouldn't be a problem for you to meet up every once in a while. And besides, this is the modern era. We have Discord. I don't know if Nagiko uses Discord, but she knows YouTube. To be honest, I'm surprised you were thinking about any of this. Thinking about any of this, Hibiki.
そりゃあね、私だってナギに青春を送ってほしいもの。
Yeah, because she's only got a year left of it.
それで、カイドウ先輩は明日には来られるんですか？
わかんない。
Because we all know, after you graduate high school, you aren't allowed to enjoy your youth ever again.
あの言い方だとしばらく来ないかも。
As much as I say that as a joke, it may be a bit less of a joke in Japan. For a while, it felt like my heart was being constricted. That would be awful. I wouldn't be able to see Senpai's face. Yeah, you see, the writers realized that if Kaido kept showing up every day, the romance would be progressing too quickly. So you have to spend some time apart to develop your feelings toward each other, and then you'll be able to line up the confession. you'll be able to time the confession to around the same time as the other routes. I wouldn't be able to hear her voice. I couldn't bear such a horrendous thought. Did that mean... Wait, was I in love with Kaido? What gave that away? With that thought in mind, the emotions I'd had until moments before faded, and I felt like I had firmly grounded myself. Hibiki, is there anything you could do to convince her to come? I needed to see her. I wanted to spend more time with her. The time apart was nothing short of agonizing.
ナギが決めたことだから。
でも練習ばかりじゃ息が詰まるっすよ。
小日向さんが言った通り、この夏は一度きりなんですよね。それはそうなんだけど、でも青春部の活動に参加するかは本人の意思次第でしょ？
Yeah, you've got a point. The other members took days off when they had business of their own too. We couldn't tell just Senpai not to take time off.
だったら来たいと思わせるとか？
なるほど。誘い文句でおびき寄せるんすね。
おびき寄せるって。
Lure her in with you. Ritsu smiled bitterly at the less than palatable Ritsu smiled bitterly at the less than palatable expression. What? Make sense of that sentence. Still, I didn't think that would be so bad either.
カイドウ先輩が心を揺さぶられるようなセリフですか。ひらめいたわ。それならぴったりの言葉があるわね。
Do you think it'll work?
まあ私に任せておきなさいって。あ、でもユウはしばらく黙っててね。じゃなきゃ失敗しちゃうから。
Huh? What does that mean? It wouldn't work if I talked. What was she planning to do?
リツさん、遠野先輩の口封じは任せたっす。
はーい。ってことで、お兄ちゃんはお口チャックだよ。
Ritsu gleefully covered my mouth. I'm sure she's very gleeful at touching your lips. With that, Hibiki retrieved her phone.
それじゃあ早速かけるわよ。あ、もしもし何？私だけど。
どうしたの響？今朝も言った通り、私は部活に出られないけど。
うん、それはわかってる。その上で、ナギにどうしても聞きたいことがあって。今、稽古の方は大丈夫？
休憩中だから、少しなら時間は問題ないけど。
そう、タイミングが良かったわね。それで聞きたいことなんだけど、ナギは明日からもしばらく休むの？
あ、うん。一応ね、最近はこっちがサボり気味になってたし、 だから一旦こっちに集中しようと思って。
そう。でもいいの？ユウがナギに会えなくて寂しがってたわ。
Huh? Are you trying to deny it? Just because you were thinking it doesn't mean that no one else felt it. I nearly made a noise, but somehow managed to hold back since Ritzy was covering my mouth. So you're not the one who managed to hold back. You were forced to hold it back. Since you're using Ritsu covering your mouth as the reason why you held back. Well, you...
そうなの？
かなり気にしてるみたいだったわね。
そうなんだ。でも今は練習してないと。
まあ真面目なナギはそう言うと思ったわ。実際合気道のことも大事にしてるのは知ってるし。でもこのまま休み続けたらどうなると思う？
どうなるの？
ほら、ナギにも聞こえるでしょ？
A smug smile crossed Hibiki's face as she pointed her phone in our direction. When she saw that, Hijiri nodded with a self-satisfied face.
ダメっすよ、鹿島先輩。なんでトード先輩におっぱい押し付けてるっすか？あざとすぎるっす。
I don't think Riri was part of the plan, guys. I don't know why you're involving her. Kashima quickly crossed her arms over her chest and put a fair amount of distance between us.
何してんの？
寂しいって心の隙間を埋めるのは何も本人じゃなくてもいいの。ユウだって男の子だもの。夏のアバンチュールでコロリと言っちゃう可能性だって。
ダメよ。そんなのダメに決まってるわ。
じゃあ、ナギはどうするの？今まで恥ずかしいの我慢して頑張ってたじゃない。それなのに、横からかっさらわれて。いいの？
そうね。響の言う通りだわ。さっきの聖の声は演技っぽかったけど。
ギク。
It sounded like Senpai had seen through her.
まあ、聖さんのことは置いといて。ナギはさ、今のチューブラリンな気持ちで合気道の練習に集中できるの？
大丈夫よ。ちゃんとそこら辺は割り切ってるつもりだし。
本当に？ユウの名前出しただけでも動揺してるんじゃないの？ない
そんなこと。
って言い切れないでしょ？
Senpai hesitated to argue, seemingly at a loss for words. Hibiki sighed a bit.
真面目なのはナギのいいところだけど、それだけじゃダメな時もあるわ。気持ちの迷いをなくしてからの方が練習になるんじゃない？
そうかも。響の言う通りね。それに何より遠野が私のことを気にしてくれてるみたいだし、遠野が寂しがってるなら先輩として行かないわけにはいかないもの。
じゃあナギ、明日は来てくれるのね？
ええ、約束するわ。絶対に行くって。
了解。きっとユウも喜んでくれると思うわ。それじゃあまた明日ね。
また明日。
Senpai's voice disappeared the moment the call ended. That was all it took for my heart to feel like it was being constricted all over again. Well, like I said, you enticed Nagiko with you.
これで完璧ね。
No, wait. I've got a lot to say about what you just did.
そうですよ。なんで私が色仕掛けをしてることになってるんですか？まあ、冗談っすから。カイドウ先輩にはバレバレだったみたいっすし。当たり前です。
でもさ、ちゃんと明日は来てくれるって言ってたじゃない。作戦は成功でしょ？
She had accomplished our goal, so I couldn't say it wasn't a success. I heard her say loud and clear that she was going to be here tomorrow. The issue was how Hibiki had conned her into it, though. The way that call went, it always made it sound like Senpai. Oh, for real? Did Senpai like me? Nah.
駆け抜け青春スパーキング。
I don't know why he's still asking that question at this point, brother. Like, no shit, she likes you. Did she not ask you to put sunscreen on her? And it only had to be you to put sunscreen on her? It couldn't have been anyone else? Senpai.
おはよう殿。昨日は来られなくて悪かったわね。
Nah, it's fine. Senpai was already there when I showed up at the club room. It wasn't like I had done anything wrong, but it made me feel restless for one reason or another. Maybe it was because I realized how I felt about her. I heard you were practicing Aikido with the dojo.
ええ、最近は少し練習をサボり気味だったから、夏休みってことでサーフィンの割合も多くなってたし、ね。
I see. I couldn't stop thinking about Senpai. Damn it. Why of all days? Had no one shown up yet? Had no one else shown up yet? Well, you know, it happened. This isn't the first time this has happened, when it was only Nagiko and you in the club room together, all by yourselves. With this, at least this time it's less suspicious, because Hibiki didn't call up to say there is a... You need to come to the club room very urgently, you know? That's right. Hey, Senpai. The next time you head to the dojo, would you mind letting me practice Aikido for a change too? Yeah, I would like that too.
それは構わないけど、どうしたのよ急に。
Oh, well, you can't say that the only reason you want to train Aikido is because you want to get closer to her, alright? You have to come up with a different excuse. It just kind of occurred to me for some reason.
そう。
This conversation wasn't going anywhere. What happened to Hibiki and the rest? It's still kind of early, but I figured they should show up. They should turn up sometime soon.
私が来た時はまだ誰もいなかったわね。待ってたらすぐに来ると思う。響から連絡が来たみたい。
Okay. Depending on what Hibiki says, the subtlety of the situation will be thrown out the window almost immediately, or well, yeah, it'll either be thrown out the window immediately or not. Is something wrong?
少し遅れるって。
Uh-huh. Okay. So she didn't outright say that she wouldn't show up. So she isn't outright saying that it's gonna only be you two alone together. So, you know, she'll show up later than usual. Uh-huh.
休養を思い出したから、そっちに少し時間取られて来るの遅れる予定だってさ。
That was unusual for her. Oh, that's mine. It's from Shinji. According to his message, he claimed to be helping an old woman find her way home. Oh, really? Okay. Don't... So it's not going to be because of Hibiki's message that the subtlety will be thrown out the window. It's because everyone is going to have an excuse at the exact same time, and they will message both of them at the same time, telling them that they'll be a little late to come to the club room. I see. He's a really good guy. Only when it comes to younger and old women. I guess it can't be helped that if that's why he's... Next was a message from Kashima and Lin. Why is it a question mark? The door to her room won't open, and there are screams coming from somewhere. What? Scary. There isn't some incident going down, right? What was it this time? I got one notification sound after another coming from Lynn. This one's from Hiragi. It said her power went out. Could Hiragi not budge from where she was with the power out? No, just like a robot, if the power goes out, she'll also go out. She's not leaving her room. I've got messages coming from Hijiri and Ritsu too. The message from Hijiri was, she found youth. Okay. These excuses are getting worse by the second. From Ritsu was, she found Hijiri. Oh, really? So they both found youth. But who is youth? What the hell did that mean? Seriously, what was everyone's deal? Don't tell me they're all scheming something. You're saying this now? You should have picked up on it the fucking microsecond that Kaido was that you found when you found out Kaido was the only other person in the room. Actually, more realistically, it would have been you would have been suspicious when Hibiki said that she would be late. But yeah, Senpai.
Nani?
Everyone else aside from Hibiki says something came up and they'll be late. Aside from Hibiki? You mean... No. Everyone says that they'll be late. Shiori, Kika, and Ritsu are a bit vague in their statement, but actually, only Shinji and Hibiki indicated that they'll be late. Riri might not be able to show up today, right? She might be stuck in her room for the whole day. Shiori's power might be out the whole day, and she doesn't want to leave her house, even though there's nothing else for her to do. So, what's the point in her staying home if her power's out, supposedly? And then Hijiri and Ritsu, I don't know, they found youth, so they don't need to go. They don't need to. They might not even show up ever again in this route, you know.
そうなんだ。じゃあ、しばらく遠野と二人っきりってわけか。
All alone. Not good. Now that we were alone, my heart started to kick up a fuss.
ねえ、遠野。
What is it, senpai?
なんか、いつもと違うくない？
That's not true, though. Does he seem hotter? I haven't changed a bit.
そう？それならいいけど。
Anyway, what do you want to do until the others show up?
ああ。
You wanna eat lunch together again? But this time she wasn't in on the plan, so she didn't actually pack for two. I'm kind of hard pressed to pick anything at all.
響たちがどれくらい遅れるかわからないしね。
Leaving the school and heading to the beach wasn't really a choice we could make. And then again, should we kill time in the club room? Here's the thing, right? They're all outside the club room, so that maybe you should go to the beach, right? Maybe it would be a good idea to go to the beach so that you spot them outside the club room. We did have the board games that Hibiki had brought with her.
うん、決めた。ねえ、遠野、少し校舎内を歩かない？
Around campus. Yeah, it might be nice for a change of pace. Oh, I was joking about them leaving the club room, but maybe they actually aren't spying on them outside the club room, and they've distanced themselves further away. I don't know how they'd be able to spy on them without. Actually, no. They'll be around, maybe. More like it was fine. It was fine by me as long as I could be with Senpai. That was how I truly felt.
うん。じゃあそうしましょう。
Roger. He says Roger a lot on this route. It's kind of weird to walk around aimlessly, though.
それもそうね。じゃあ、とりあえずはそこに行きましょうか。
Over there?
ま、行ってのお楽しみよ。
Senpai kept on briskly moving forward. Oh, of course, I didn't have anything I didn't have anywhere I wanted to go in particular. Oh well. Better just follow Senpai like she asked. Well, here's the thing, right? You is only aware of 3 rooms in this entire school. It's his classroom, youth collective's club room, and the library. Oh, why did we come here? For some reason, she had led me to my classroom, class 2-3.
教室ならどこでもよかったんだけどね。なんとなく、遠野がいつもどこで勉強してるのか気になってさ。
Really?
遠野の席ってどこなの？
Over there. The third seat. The one in front of the window.
窓際だったのね。羨ましい。
Yeah, by the window, like any anime protagonist.
私も窓際がいいんだけど、なかなか取れないのよね。
It comes in handy when I feel like drawing. And personally, I wouldn't be fine if I had gotten front and center of the teacher's desk.
マジで？でもそうか。遠野は小学生だもんね。
I took my study seriously and didn't much care where they placed me. You sure about that? Hang on. I would have been fine if... I said wouldn't be fine. I would have been fine if I got in front and center of the teacher's desk. And then again, I wasn't about to turn down the opportunity to sit in the sun by the window. However, it was an especially brutal spot to occupy over the summer. Well, good thing you only get 1 month of summer. Okay, that's not true. Summer kind of carries over a bit, even after the summer months.
と、そんな話をしてる場合じゃなかった。さ、遠野はそこに座って。
Okay. She halfway pushed me down into my seat.
それで私はこっち。
Senpai stood in front of the teacher's podium. Oh, I see. He's into roleplay. Then she wrote out what looked like a formula on the blackboard.
さて、これからカイドウ先生の特別授業を始めます。
I'm okay with this. What? How did this happen?
はい、そこ。死後はしない。優等生な遠野くんにはこの問題を解いてもらいます。難しい問題だけど解けるかしらね。はい、制限時間は3分。始め！
What? I wasn't expecting this. That time limit is too short. Oh, so I thought, but it was similar to a problem I had studied for previously. The answer is 1/12.
もう解けたの？
I mean, I would have liked if they actually wrote out the equation, but you know what? Fine, whatever. I'm fairly certain that's right, but what do you think?
ちょっと待ってね。すごい。正解だわ。
Phew. The question showed me mercy then. If the problem had been any different, I wouldn't have been able to solve it so easily.
じゃあ、他の科目にしようか。これはどう？ 97年、大臣に使者を派遣した高官の聖域統合。
Bon Chao.
細胞には核やミトコンドリアなど様々な構造体がある。これらを何と呼ぶか。
Fuck, I forgot how it's pronounced. Is it organelles? Organelles? I don't remember.
水泳リーベ僕の船。
Yeah, friend Nelly Nancy MG? I mean, I know it's the periodic table, right? But you didn't have a word that was for what is it? Magnesium? I'm trying to remember what's after sodium, which is Ne. N-A, I mean. N-E is neon. Alan. The mnemonic for the beginning of the periodic table.
強すぎる。
I mean, here's the thing, right? I didn't mean to press that. What did I press? I pressed F4. F4 full screens, apparently. I didn't know there was a mnemonic for the periodic table. The beginning only, but, you know, I would have been able to get the elements after carbon. I don't know why I blanked on carbon. Wait. Happy Henry lives beside Boron Cottage. This is so you're right. Happy is hydrogen, helium, lithium, beryllium, and then boron is just boron. All right, carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, fluorine, neon, sodium. I still don't remember MG. I don't know why I don't remember MG. I used to. Why? It had nothing to do with school. It was just a fun thing I did. But yeah. And then aluminium. Or aluminum. To you Americans.
私の負けよ。
Senpai hung her head and fell to her knees out of disappointment. Hey, that's admitted defeat too soon.
頭がいいのは知ってたけど、ここまでなんて。
These subjects are simple as long as you can memorize them. Never mind all that. Why are you doing this? Why are we doing this?
勉強ができるお姉さんアピールがしたくて。
I mean, you're trying to do that. You're trying to show off in front of the guy who's constantly at the top of all of the test score rankings or whatever, however you'd call it. Oh, I see. Crap. Seba was being kind of adorable, but I think you're a little different from a studious lady. Yeah, I prefer the tomboy part, not the studious lady part. Think about it for a second. Senpai, aren't you the athletic type with exceptional reflexes?
否定できないわね。
You're ridiculously good at Aikido, and great at surfing too. You're unexpectedly fastidious, and skilled at keeping schedules. Also, you're a great cook. The lunchbox you made the other day was delicious.
やめて！私を褒め殺してどうする気？
He's flirting. Even though I don't think he sees it as that. No, I'm just saying what I think. Senpai's face flushed bright red as her mouth gaped open and closed.
カイドウ先生の特別授業終了！あとは日向でお昼寝の時間にします！
Is that what you... Is this a Kaido special activity? Oh, how would you say it? Her special lesson was nothing short of random, but now it had come to an end, and rather abruptly at that. Yeah, you're to blame for that one.
なんか今日は空回りしてばっかりな気がする。私ってこういうの向いてないのかな。
You didn't have to force yourself to go on the offensive, especially when it comes to academics. Yeah. Especially since you have you have a specialty. You could have gone into that. You could have shown off how smart you are by teaching him about Aikido. You know, there's still theory when it comes to martial arts. It doesn't mean, you know, why'd you have to teach, why'd you have to quiz him on basic school subjects? Why don't we have a match show in something you're good at?
例えば何？
Athletics, like I mentioned earlier. I know, why don't we have Aikido practice or something? Hibiki and the others still aren't here, or so you think. so there's no point waiting around for them. She had just invited me to practice with her earlier, the next time I went to the dojo. If nothing else, the timing worked out perfectly.
そうね。そうしましょうか。
I informed our club president, Kiko, by text that we would be practicing Aikido in our club activity today, which was how we eventually found ourselves at the dojo.
さて、私は着替えてくるから、ちょっとここで待ってて。
Roger. Again. Being a guy, I could get changed virtually anywhere. With that, I changed into the appropriate garb following Senpai's departure and looked around the dojo. Hang on a minute. Being a guy, I could get changed virtually anywhere. You act like girls don't have underwear. Right? Like, what do you mean? Sure, you could get changed virtually anywhere. But I don't think most guys are like you. Hang on, did I read that? With that, I changed the... Oh, wait, yeah, I have. I didn't have a chance to sort out my feelings on it then, especially when we went straight to the beach the other day, but I had lots of harsh memories of this place. They weren't all bad, of course. There were some good ones. There were some good ones too. They should be somewhere. They should be around here. He's searching for his memories. There they are. There were horizontal lines drawn across one of the dojo's pillars. Right beside them. Okay, that's cute. Right beside them were the letters N, H, and U. And Y, I mean. Definitely. N for Nagiko, H for Hibiki, and Y for you. It was back in the old days when we would play together. The three of us would measure our heights on this very pillar once per year. We kept up that tradition. From the time we met up until Hibiki transferred. And they're still here, huh?
残ってるって何のこと？
Whoa!
終わって失礼ね。
I mean, like, surely... It's like... When he says there's marks in the pillar, right? Surely he means, like, marker or, like, pencil, markings, right? So, it's probably something that can be erased, right? What I'm getting at is, her dad doesn't want to get rid of the markings because of the memory that is associated with it. Now, if it was a more permanent thing that they etched into the pillar, then that's a different issue. Sorry. Who wouldn't jump if someone snuck up on them like that?
あんたが油断しすぎなだけよ。それで壁なんか見てどうしたの？
Oh, I was just remembering about the old days a bit, I guess. I had known Senpai would be changing into a martial arts uniform. Were those uniforms always that sexy? Well, it's been a while since you've seen her in the uniform. And by a while, I mean like a few weeks ago. He's seen her. He's already seen her in her uniform like a bit ago. If this was the first time in this route, I'd be like, well, it's been like a few years since you've seen her. But no, it's just a change of it's just a change of perspective. I could see her collarbone. I could even clearly make out her waistline. But my mouth suddenly went dry and I couldn't take my eyes off of her.
何？そんな人のことチロチロ見て。何よ、はっきりしないわね。
Kaido.
何よ。
You've grown up really fantastically.
はあ？どういう意味よそれ。
Exactly what it sounded like. I mean, I'd known that from seeing her in a swimsuit, but unlike when we were kids, I thought you looked awfully sexy. Okay, well, I didn't think he would outright say it. Nothing stood out too much, since it was Japanese clothing. However, she had curves in all the right places.
遠野、あんた何を言って。
I mean, it's sort of the same appeal as like a kimono, right? Sorry, I didn't mean to. I just haven't seen you dressed up that way in a while, so I wound up comparing you to the old days.
スケベ。
But also, it has been only like a few weeks since you've seen her, or like a few days at most, or a few weeks at most, a few days at least. Press F5.
水着や私服の時じゃなくて動機の時に言うなんて。遠野、こういうのが好きなの？
It's not really like that. At least I don't think so. Senpai was quite something in that outfit though.
それで何が残ってたって？
Senpai checked out the pillow I had been looking at.
もしかしてこの傷を見てたの？
Senpai blushed as she forced a change of subject. I was liable to stir up a hornet's nest if I pointed it out, so I decided to go along with it. Yeah, exactly. I was just thinking about how we compared heights back in the day.
懐かしいわね。響と3人で勝負してたんだっけ？
When she calling them scratches still doesn't indicate whether they were using pencils or it actually is more permanent, because like it's wood. So okay, well that doesn't explain why pencils, why using a pencil is viable. Whatever.
あの頃は遠野が一番背が低かったのよね。さすがに今はもう勝負になんないけど。
Well, despite everything, I am a man, and men usually start their puberty a bit later than women. So, you know, most kids around the age where they would be, where their childhood would be taking place, would be around the time when Hibiki and Nagiko were about starting their puberty. That doesn't make sense, but you know, you get where I'm coming from. You get what I mean? And girls grew faster during childhood. However, now that we were older, I'd surpassed both of them. You know, it's the late bloomer, but biology.
あれからいつの間にかこんなに時間が経ってたのね。純粋無垢な子がスケベ男になるくらいには。
Forget about that already. There's no need to bring that back up, especially when you're clearly embarrassed about it.
わかってるわよ。
She's embarrassed about it because she doesn't mind the compliment.
ただちょっと。
Listen, all I'm saying is, if you called her sexy before, she would have thrown you across the room. Now that she likes you,
今この道場には私とあんたの2人だけなんだなって思っただけで。別に意識なんてしてないんだから。
it sounded like she was insanely self-conscious to me. The silence felt stifling. Anyway, if we're going to practice, why don't we get started?
そうね。遠野もだいぶなまってるようだし、思いっきり鍛え直してあげる。
I hope you'll go easy on me.
さて、どうしようかしら。
Okay, with a look like that, I hope you go rough on me. What?
あまりに情けないようだと、手加減の必要もなくなりそうね。
Give me a break. Senpai's usual fearless smile rose to her lips. It felt like it was either because she had gotten distracted or because the stifling atmosphere had lifted.
ところで、うちのやり方は覚えてる？
Of course. I used to take lessons here back in the day too, so I wouldn't forget that easily.
それもそうね。
Aikido was the art of self-defense. As such, we hardly ever conducted matches or group practice. However, Kaido had undertaken freestyle practice. This was so that she could act without hesitation if a time ever came where she was actually compelled to defend herself, apparently.
じゃ、まずは軽くやってみましょうか。足腰を鍛えるのにみっちりしごいてあげる。
Alright, bring it. We bowed then faced each other and took our places. Staring Senpai down head on was enough to make my pulse race. Not because I'm about to get my ass kicked, but because she's so hot. Was it because this was my first time practicing Aikido in ages? Or was it because...
はぁ
By the time I shouted, I had been hurled in heaven and heaven and earth. Heaven and the earth had traded places.
遠野、集中して。怪我をするわよ。
I'm sorry, but like, you know, I wouldn't mind if you did a little. Hurt me, that is. She had a point. I needed to discard my worldly thoughts and face Senpai head on. This was a dojo and a very important place for Senpai. For just this moment, I had to devote myself to Aikido, free of obstructive thoughts. Obstructive.
よし、今日はここまでにしておきましょうか。
Actually, yeah, no, I know why I thought my mind I gaslit myself into thinking it said feelings instead of thoughts. Agreed. Good work out there. I somehow managed to respond to Senpai from the floor. She really had worked my legs so hard that I couldn't stand.
長い間やってなかった割には動けてたわね。すごいじゃない、遠野。
Thanks. I'm glad I get to impress my future girlfriend. Then again, I have nothing to be proud of given my condition.
そう？夏休み中、うちでじっくり稽古してみる？相当なレベルまで勘も取り戻せると思うわよ。
It was an attractive invitation. I would be able to see Senpai every day. There was no way I'd be able to keep up with her physically, though. Well, maybe it's time for you to start. You can train with her until you are able to keep up with her physically, you know? With those newbie gains, not games. I appreciate the offer, but I'll pass.
そう？残念だわ。もしかしたら毎日会えるかとも思ったんだけど。
Uh-huh. A quiet whisper. I questioned it without thinking, wondering if my own thoughts had come out of her mouth.
なんでもない。私、そろそろ着替えてくるから。
Was Senpai acting like that because she felt the same way I did? Fucking Christ, man. How dense can you be? My heart raced feverishly in my chest as I watched her head off to change. Senpai, thank you for joining me today. I got lots of practice for a change.
どういたしまして。私もいい稽古になったわ。ランドリは相手がいないとできないしね。
Glad to be here then. What mattered most me was that I could be even the least bit of help to her. As that thought crossed my mind, I stole a glance over to my side at her in her uniform. She's so pretty. I was plagued by that same thought over and over again as she stood in place, clad in her uniform. As awe-inspiring as Senpai was in her martial arts uniform, there was something about this outfit that made her look positively adorable. Maybe it's the sleeveless design. Getting to walk along with Senpai made this made me feel so much happiness. Just getting to be with you all day long made me really happy. I got to have a long, fulfilling day thanks to you. For a moment there, after Hibiki and the others effectively bailed on us, I had wondered what Senpai and I could possibly do alone together. There was every possibility we could have killed time in the club room. It was lonely without you at the club room meeting yesterday.
寂しかった。
Yeah,
遠野が
the him being lonely part wasn't a lie, but the him being so desperately lonely that he needed to be comforted by Riri's chest, that one was a lie. Yeah, it was, you know, they were just stretching the truth out a bit. We had been together practically every single day lately, after all. Even though this isn't true anymore, we also had that secret between just the two of us. Senpai and I had spent an awful lot of time together since our summer vacation started. She had even paired up with me for Aikido practice for the first time in ages. You know, I'd like to do all sorts of stuff together going forward. I guess I would say, even if I'm in the youth collective, I'm not able to enjoy my youth without you there. So, I was far too embarrassed to continue now that I'd said all of that out loud. I could feel my face flaring up on the spot. Senpai. Hey! I called out to her enthusiastically, earning a shrill yelp in response. Had Senpai been caught up in the mood, her face was also a bit red. Would you like to go and see? Would you like to go see a movie together sometime? What do you think? Was it because I was so afraid to hear her answer to this question? What if she turned me down? The mere thought nearly made me tremble. But...
行きたい。私でよければぜひ連れてって。
Are you sure? She readily agreed, and I couldn't help but ask her again to be sure.
いいも悪いもあんたから誘ったんでしょうが。
Yeah, but...
遠野のバイトが休みの日っていつ？私がその日に合わせる。
My next day off is Sunday, I believe.
了解。その日、予定は開けとくから。というか、最初から予定は空いてたんだけど。
Huh?
私も、遠野とどこか行きたいって考えてたから。それだけよ。
Senpai. Crap, my face was on fire. Neither of us dared to meet each other's gaze.
それじゃあ、日曜楽しみにしてるから。
Yeah.
そろそろ部室に戻ろっか。
Sure. I asked Senpai on a date, right? Holy crap, my heart was beating so fast.
早く日曜日にならないかな。
Holy shit. This is the first time you has ever asked one of the girls out on a date before they actually started dating. Before they became a couple. I wound up grinning while I cleaned the dojo.
遠野の言葉ってデートの誘いよね。心臓がめちゃくちゃドキドキしてる。演舞の時でもこんなにドキドキしたことないのに。
Thanks to Hibiki and the rest, Tono had successfully asked me out on a date. After our date, what would become of me?
ナギコ、こんな時間に掃除をしているのか？
お父さん、さっきまで稽古してたから。
そうか。そのまま精進しなさい。しかし、随分と浮かれているようだが、いいことでもあったのか？そうか。お前も、いつの間にか大きくなったのだな。
何をいきなり。
いい人ができたなら、今度連れてきなさい。
ちょっと変なこと言わないでよ。
Listen, I'm just saying, if you really want to be as good of a martial artist as your dad, Nagiko, you need to be just as sharp. She said she had a good day, and he immediately realized, oh, she must be thinking about a boy.
ま まだそんなんじゃないから。
She must have had a good time with a boy.
まだか。そうかそうか。
もう、お父さん。
This was so embarrassing. Yeesh.